Learners often get confused when they see questions about themes and messages, and they tend to not quite know what the difference is, what is exactly expected of them to write in questions like those. So it's actually very simple. So let's have a look at this. When you identify or differentiate between a theme and a message, or when you have to identify either a theme or a message, there are certain things that you need to look at. You need to remember, firstly, that the theme is the main idea which the text explores. It is like, the bovril. The bovril is like the essence. It's all the other things are thrown off. It's just like the essence of what this text is really about. And because it's the essence, it should be written in key term. You're not going to have a long sentence to describe a theme. You're going to look at this text as a whole and say, oh, what concepts are explored in this text? Okay, it might be good versus evil. Can you see how broad that term is? It's really like the essence. It's good versus evil. It might be revenge. It might be parenthood. It might be love. Now, you all know how varied the concept of love is, but love is the essential theme. Parenthood doesn't say us anything about parenthood, just parenthood. It's a theme, it is the main idea, right? Essence that's explored in the text. Now, very often there are more than one themes explored in a text, but those are they're like the very general aspects explored, and you are going to say what the theme is by using a key term such as love, hatred. So, what then is the message as opposed to the theme? The message is what the text communicates about the theme. In other words, the message is the elaborated version. Now, if the text is generally about love or good versus evil, you're going to look at a message in a certain part of the text and ask, what exactly is said about love in this scene? And then you're going to give it to me not in key term, but you're going to phrase it as a statement. Can you see? You're going to elaborate and say, what exactly about love is being said in this act or in this text as a whole? So, what is the message then? So, if we look at the theme good versus evil, the text might tell us eventually the message might be that good always triumphs over evil. In other words, evil is never going to win. That is what the text is saying. That's the message. Can you see? It's a longer way of putting what this is really about. If you talk about love, for instance, love is a key theme there, and then you're going to say, love knows no boundaries. No boundaries. That might be what this part of the text is telling us, or what the text as a whole is telling us about the theme, which is love. So you've got your key term, and then you've got your elaboration. Key term, theme, elaboration, message. Now let's try and identify these two concepts in a little passage, a little extract from dorKk by Ethel Fugard. And we're going to look at diction, we're going to look at style, we're going to look at what is being said in this passage to try and extract. Remember, I said like the bovril, you're going to extract the essence. What is this theme that's being addressed in this little extract? And then I'm going to ask what exactly is the message. So, here is dorKk. When he reached his room, he was sweating. Now, you normally sweat when you're anxious. He closed the door behind him, putting a chair against it so that no one could enter unexpectedly. Now, you've all done that. You've put a chair against a door so that somebody might not, be able to come in. The window, or rather the hole in the wall, since there was no glass, he covered up the wall, right? The hole in the wall, with a thin square of wood, which was used for that purpose when it was cold or raining and the wind blew. Only then, in other words, suggesting, then when he felt safe enough, feeling safe from inquisitive eyes or interruption, did he take the shoebox from its hiding place. Look at the word hiding, how it tells you that he had hidden this box under his bed. He put it down carefully on the table, pulled up a chair, sat down, and then took off the lid to examine its contents. It was still alive, and it seemed to be sleeping. So you can see that there is a lot, do you agree, of fear explored in this passage. Is that a key term? Is it like in general, what we gather from this passage, that he is fearful? Fear would then be the theme of this little extract. Now, what about the message? What does this little part say? What should you do when you are so fearful? All right, you can be careful and everything, but what did he do? He took the box which he had hidden. He took the lid off and he looked at this. He examined the content of this box, and he started looking at this tiny baby, which he didn't know what to do about. So what does this tell us about fear in this little passage? That perhaps one should face one's fears, that one should be careful, but one should not shy away from fears. One should look it in the eye and deal with it. Hope it makes sense to you. Deal with your fears. That is the message, the longer version. Right, let's have a look at this one. It is a lovely little poem. It's one of Wordsworth's Lucy poems that he wrote about a little girl who died. And he calls it "A slumber did my spirit seal." A slumber did my spirit seal. I had no human fears. She seemed a thing that could not feel the touch of earthly years. No motion has she now, no force. She neither hears nor sees, rolled round in earth's diurnal course, with rocks and stones and trees. So if you look at this poem, you don't need to actually even go into great detail. You can see immediately all these the sibilant sounds here, him not knowing that this child is actually possible for a child to die. He was slumbering. He was in a slumber-like state, and it sealed his spirit so that he was not open to reality. He thought that she would not feel. Look at the fricative sounds and the S's and the F's, the soft sounds. He was oblivious to the fact that this child could actually die. But now, no motion has she now, no force. She neither hears nor sees the diurnal course, the harder sounds. Okay, so what have you established? In essence, if you take about off all the frills, everything, you're going to get to an essence here. What is he talking about? He's talking about death. Take a minute, do you agree? He's talking about death. And what would death be then? We are talking in key terms here, so it is the theme, right? But what is the message? What is being said in longer terms, a bit more elaboration, about death in this poem? It basically says that death comes unexpectedly, and even children can die, although one doesn't ever think of it like that. So it comes unexpectedly, even to children, and it's inevitable and it's permanent. Does it make sense to you? She is now part of the rocks, the stones, and the trees. It's permanent. It is unexpected, inevitable, and it's permanent. That is what is being said about death. So that is the message. Right, let's have a look at a totally different text. It's a text about bullying. It's an informational piece. Any form of bullying can have serious long-term effects on both the victim and the bully. Victims often experience changes in sleeping patterns, deviations from normal eating habits, social isolation, school avoidance, low self-esteem, substance abuse, depression, anxiety disorders, self-destructive behaviors, difficulties maintaining relationships, and in severe circumstances, potentially even suicide. These intense effects are precisely why young adults need to be put in touch with mental professionals. It is very obvious in terms of essence that we are talking about bullying. This is about bullying. Or if you like, it can even be a little longer, but it's not going to be a long theme. You can say the effects of bullying, perhaps, if you like. But bullying is what it's about. That's what the article is about. So what does it say about bullying? You would probably agree with me that this article is saying that the effects of bullying are very severe, are very important, and should not be missed and should be looked after. And because of the severity of the effects of bullying, adults should make sure that children that are part of any bullying situation must be given professional help. In other words, the effects of bullying should be looked after by professionals. Message. And that's the essence of it. The theme, the message is the elaboration. So remember then, if you get questions about theme, it is a general principle. And you write it in key form. Good versus evil. The message, on the other hand, is a specific example of that theme in action, and it's phrased as a statement, longer. For instance, if you look at good versus evil, we are talking about evil. So what is this specific part telling us about evil or good versus evil? This part is telling us about the effect of excessive ambition, how it can inspire evil actions, even in good people, for instance. There you have it. Theme, message.